job every day is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is caught! Left center! Reds win! And this ball is launched. High and very deep to right, long gone. It's second of the night. Ellie De La Cruz.
Short lead for Pena. Larkin, do you believe this? That's going to be gone! Back to back! Walk-off home runs! How about this? He's back! He's back! He's back!
And a swing and a drive! Deep left field! This one belongs to the Reds!
Swung on and hit
Deep to left field! That ball is going to be gone! Home run! And the Reds put it 5-4!
Goes to second one. Around to first. Got a double play! And the Reds sweep the Cubs. Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Way back there. And gone! Into the second deck and left. Christian Encarnacion Strand walks it off. Archer does it in his major league debut. He gets the final 3 outs, and the Reds get an extra inning win. A thriller 5-4.
Swung on, fly ball, hit the deep right field. That ball is gonna be gone. A grand slam home run by Mike Cameron.
2 outs, 2 on. Reds down by 1. Larkin down the line. It's a winning. It's a winning. Here comes Tucker. Here comes Steins. Larkin's won the game. Barry Larkin gets mobbed. Look at this scene. It's synergy.
The stretch, the pause and the pitch. And a line drive, base hit left center field. A single for Aaron Boone. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won 8 in a row.
Kobayashi with a long look turns it loose and Dunn hits it to deep right. It's all over. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won their 5th game in a row. They've defeated the Cleveland Indians on an Adam Dunn 3-run home run, 4-2. In on the corners at first and third. 2 on, nobody out. Here's Royce Ring pitching, no bunt. Ground ball by the third baseman into left field. Dave Bruce rounds third. This one belongs to the Reds.
That's hit pretty good. Guess what? He doesn't need speed. That's gone. He's the king of the Queen City tonight.
With 1 out here in the 11th inning, you sure got to go now.
Swung on, pull down the left field line. That ball is going to get the winning run in. Here comes Dave Bruce rounding third, heading toward the plate. And this one belongs to the Reds.
Huge situation for Votto. Why you paying the big bucks to deliver the goods with 2 outs in the 9th inning? Can he do it? In the gap, right center field, and Votto delivers the goods.
Hit deep center field. Hank Hill going back at the warning track. Oh, he gets one. It's gone. Joey Votto is delivered.
Reds fans, happy Monday and welcome to another Chatterbox Reds pregame show. I'm Hunter Hurst. On my right is Alex Wallace, and it is a great day to be a Reds fan and won 3 in a row now after a huge and rather unexpected series sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Alex, how are we feeling coming off the weekend?
Well, it's been fantastic. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say it publicly, Hunter. I was a little out in the dumps with these guys. Did I watch much this weekend? No. I was at the game last week on Tuesday for the win, for the Friedel, game-saving home run rob. But, I just didn't think they had it. They reeled me back in with this sweep against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, this team's like watching The Godfather. As soon as you think you're out, they pull you right back in. And they're back to 500. And this is this series is huge because it's a big test coming up the next month or so for this team. Obviously in Detroit after this, and then you play the Twins, Cardinals, Yankees, Padres. It's just such a tough road ahead after this, and I think it'd be so huge for them to get off to a good start in Cleveland.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I talked about this earlier in the year when they had the what was it, Miami, Colorado. What was the other stop? Baltimore. The Baltimore, Miami, Colorado swing there. If they could end that, was it 6-3? I would feel pretty good. I think if they can get out of July a game or 2 over 500, I don't care when they win them. They could get swept by, lose the next 6. But that just means you have to beat the Cardinals and the Padres later in the month. So it's, be nice to spread them around, but this team, like we just said, has pulled us in, pulled us out. They're totally out. They're back in. You just never know. And we're getting to the time, the year when the ball's going to start flying in Cincinnati and everywhere else. So looking forward to some balls getting over the fence.
Fully agree with you. We saw that yesterday. Reds win 4-2 on the backs of 3 home runs. That's the only way the Reds scored runs yesterday. CES just completely on fire right now. He homered for a 3rd straight game since coming back. Jose Trevino with a home run. And then Matt McClain, of all people, it seems like he's finally starting to figure it out. We talked about, and Tito's talked about the bunt hit, and we discussed off air that we think that is that's been huge for him, just to see the ball deeper in the zone and be able to then turn on one and, win the Reds a ball game yesterday. We'll talk about McClain and go ahead and get to that. How are you feeling about him headed into this road trip?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys, I think 2023 McClain is closer to the real McClain than what we saw this year. I don't know if he's a, perennial number 2, like the second best player. I don't know if he's a guy that we should put our flag in the ground and say it's McClain and Ellie. That's it, But I think he's coming around. He's just going to be an overall solid player. I think he's probably going to average over his career 20 home runs a year plus, play good defense, and consistently get on base. But he's going to have some strikeouts. He had those in the minors, especially I think in Chattanooga, a lot of strikeouts the year before he took off in AAA. But he's coming around. I also his shoulder from last year. You got to think that played into some of that slow start.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely think you mentioned his defense. It's important to note that while he was struggling at the plate, he was still giving you a damn good glove at second base. And he's such a vibes guy with Ellie up the middle. I feel like Ellie is a lot happier when, he's got his buddy out there. Obviously, there's like a foot difference in height. That always makes me laugh when they do the dunk celebration after the games. But
and also,
he's such a big guy.
It also seemed, too, that if you noticed on Friday's game that ended on Saturday, when they dumped the water on CES, that was the first real big walk-off we've had, or the only walk-off that the Reds have had this year. But McClain and Ellie brought the water and dumped it on CES, and I think Jim Day got a little was in the splash zone there. But those 3 seem to have a really good relationship as well.
Yeah, and we want to see what these young kids can do. So baseball gods obviously help us out with health and everything. CES coming back has been huge. McClain coming back, although he struggled, has been huge for Ellie up the middle. And we've got to see what these guys can do. If the Reds are going to contend in the coming years, it's really on the shoulders, I think, of those 3 guys and Noelvi Marte in the lineup side of things. Pitching side, obviously, you have Hunter Green, Lodolo, Abbott, those guys. But the young kids, it's their time to show what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I saw Mike Hart, one of our co-hosts here, threw it up there, and of course the picture for the video. I don't count out Will Benson in that group. I think if Will Benson would have been drafted by the Reds instead of former Red Nick Senzel, drafted the same year, we would probably view Will Benson very similarly. I really think Hunter, he has the chance to be the second best player on the Reds. I think he's going to have a very similar career path to Jay Bruce. Just hope that everyone can put it together and lead us to a couple division titles. But let's slow down. Let's just all stay healthy and, string some wins together.
Yeah, we'll slow it down a little bit. God, it'd be so nice to see a division title, though. But let's focus on getting the game above 500 tonight.
Right.
Hopefully the Reds will win there.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, hopefully the Reds will win their 4th in a row, taking on the Guardians, who are in their own pack of mid in the American League Central. The Reds are currently in 4th in the pack of mid that is behind the Chicago Cubs in the National League Central. The Guardians are 34-30 in 3rd place. What have you seen from them? They're 5-5 in their last 10, but have you seen anything from them that threatens you into this series?
Well, I think they're obviously, it's somewhat funny to say this because Francona and his connection to the Guardians. And I really don't think Francona, pulls any strings front office wise. He may have brought in a Barlow or type or someone like that, but nothing too strong. I think they're what the Reds really hope they can be. I'm looking at their lineup here. They have the one big all-star, Jose Ramirez, consistently dangerous. And then, of course, Steven Kwan, one of the quiet stars in all of Major League Baseball. So really those two guys, and then the rest of them, I mean, they're not world beaters. In a way similar to the Reds. I think the Reds offense has struggled a lot more than the Guardians in a way. But not the biggest names, but guys you hope that can help you night in and night out. But really those two guys are the ones that I watch for every time we play the Guardians.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think definitely the people to watch, obviously, future Hall of Famer batting in the 3-hole is Jose Ramirez. Carlos Santana, we'll get into that. He has crushed Wade Miley in his career, 7 for 15 against him. And then, of course, Quan and Lane Thomas at the top of the order. But other than that, I mean, there's not guys up and down this lineup where I'm like, geez, you don't get a break here 1 through 9. It feels like after you get past Santana, Bo Naylor is the biggest threat. Obviously no offense to Bo Naylor. He's a great ball player, but he's not exactly dealing with Gary Carter or Jotty Bench at the catcher spot.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some pop, though. He has 8 home runs this year. I mean, the only Red in the lineup starting today that would have more than him would be Ellie at 12. But you're right. I mean, he's not fantastic. He has a below 200 average, which average is an average, but still. But Wade Miley, he surprised us before in Cleveland.
That he has. Wade Miley is actually the last time he started a game in Cleveland, May 7th, 2021, just over 4 years ago. Wade Miley threw a no-hitter against the then Cleveland Indians, and he is on the mound tonight for the Reds. Miley has made 1 appearance, 2 innings, did not go well on Wednesday against Milwaukee, gave up 4 earned on 6 hits, a lot of hard hit balls, and obviously he was in mop-up duty, but it's for the Cup today. It is very much for the Cup today. Stanley Cup Final Game 3 is tonight, obviously, but we're talking about the more important Cup in the Ohio Cup.
Now, a question we didn't go over pre-show here. Hunter, let's say we really hope Miley throws another no-hitter tonight. If I'm Wade Miley, I've already got the Hulk tattoo on. I'm ready to go. I'm doing whatever I did before. I'm even calling the Reds and asking if Bronson Arroyo can come up and call the game from the radio. I want everything to stay the same. But let's just say that doesn't happen. What do you think the Reds' plan is coming out of the bullpen if he gets shelled out like the first? I don't want to say the first inning. I don't want to put any, bad juju out there. But let's say he only lasts 3 innings. What do you think the Reds' plan is? Do they just go straight to Richardson for 2 and then, figure it out from there? What's your thoughts?
So my initial thought was when they said Miley was going to make this start after the debacle he had against Milwaukee on Wednesday, why isn't Brent Suter making this start? And then I had the thought, why isn't Chase Burns making this start? Obviously, he's just got called up to AAA today, and there's a lot of expectation around him. But if you were going to have the soft-throwing lefty make this start, we already have one of those, and we have one of those in Brent Suter that has just been outstanding. But if Wade Miley is, he comes out and it's the same song and dance as it was at GABP on Wednesday, I think the first call you make out of the bullpen, Suter, the lineup is set to go against a left-handed pitcher, and maybe you throw Richardson out there and you want to get their bench bats in there early. But I wouldn't mind seeing Brent Suter come out first. He's had success against the Guardians. Really, he's had success against everybody and any role Francona has asked him to go in this year. But if you want to go Richardson, that's also fine with me. You've got 2 solid options to go long relief, and then you piece it together from there, kind of like a bullpen game, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now, so I was kind of thinking the same thing. I totally agree with Chase Burns. Obviously, I think everyone here is kind of, ready to see the number 2 draft pick come up. From your view, I think from listening to you in prior weeks, our first show together, you have a little more sense on like the whole baseball side of it more than I do. What do you think this tells you about, like, sure, they brought Wade Miley in, during the offseason. I think this is what they were hoping for, is what I could take from it. Now, they certainly weren't hoping that Hunter Green would get hurt, obviously, but someone to come in and make some starts before they really had to start calling up the kids. What does this say about Chase Petty to you? Do you think he's done for the year when it comes to playing for the big club?
I wouldn't say for the year. I would say he's done until hopefully they don't get to that point, but I would say he's done until they're out of it. He hasn't shown as much potential as he has, which I still think that obviously we got a sour taste when it comes to him pitching at the big league level right now, but as much potential as he has, it's not there yet. He's not ready to go. WTI Trader in the chat, I fully agree with this there on the screen. He's just not ready, for prime time yet. And that's not to say Chase Burns will be the same story whenever he eventually comes up. But I think Petty, until they're out of it, is done for now. And we'll see how things go, obviously, with the Hunter Green situation. How long is Wade Miley here is another question. And when does Carson Spires play into that role as well?
And is Carson Spires, is he back? Is he in Louisville
No,
pitching?
So he's still on the injured list as far as I know, but it's eventually he's going to be back, and then you kind of want to
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. This Hunter Green injury really does kind of put us in a bind, right? You think about his injury, but last year the Reds had Brandon Williamson. I mean, who's forgot about him? I mean, he would be fantastic. And then the other kid, Aguilar, he also had Tommy John this year. He would have been great to have in this role. Nick Kirby always says it. You always need more and more starting pitching. I just wonder how long. And again, I'm hoping Wade Miley throws a second no-hitter in Cleveland tonight. I just wonder how long you hang on with this guy until you have to call someone up. I'm just interested how many starts they let this go.
I really think it comes down to Burns forcing their hand, which he did at I think the plan, in my mind, was to keep him in Chattanooga for as long as he needed. Well, he showed pretty damn quick.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need that long in Chattanooga. Might not have needed to go there at all. So if he goes, he's first starting Louisville, I believe, is this week. It might be on Wednesday if I'm not mistaken. But whenever his first start in Louisville comes and he goes out and he dominates, then it's, we'll see if he does it again. And then after that, it's, he's forcing your hand at this point.
I think he's good for 2 starts. And I heard this years ago and it made me laugh. And I think it's half true. So I'm going to say it now. I think some of these guys that these superstars, Chase Burns of the world, Louder to a certain degree, or Ellie, they make them, the Reds make them go to every stop so that the minor league affiliate can have Chase Burns bobblehead night in 2 or 3 years. Honestly, it makes sense. So, he could come up now. Great. But then the bats don't get to put a little banner on there when it says Cy Young winner in 2027, Chase Burns with the bobblehead. I mean, there goes 2 promotions. So I think that's a real deal. I'm hoping for 2 starts, and I hope he comes up.
Yeah, me too. And I was lucky enough when he was at Tennessee and starting pitcher there before he ended up moving to the bullpen and transferred to Wake Forest. Got to call one of his starts against Morehead State. I'll tell you, there's a lot to be excited about there. I mean, this kid, the ball just explodes out of his hand. It's awesome. I can't wait to see what he does at Louisville. Pretty sure just about every game in Louisville streams, so we'll at least have TV for every single one of his, for every single start that he ends up making there, which we're hoping for 1 or 2, but we'll see how many that goes. We'll go ahead and get to the Reds lineup tonight. Same top 3, I believe same top 4. Friedel, Lux, David Cruz, and CES, who has been setting the world on fire since he came back on Friday. Tyler Stevenson, Will Benson, and then Santiago Espinal, who not really sure why Spencer Steer is in this lineup, but we'll get to that. Jake Fraley, and then Matt McQueen. So saw this tweet earlier. I believe it was Reds in 4. With the way CES played defensively at third base, and I know it was a foul ball, made one hell of a stop diving. to his right on a ball that would have been foul, and if it was fair, if he doesn't stop it, that's extra bags. So I think if CES can continue to develop defensively at third base, we're not too far from not seeing Santiago Espinal in a role he shouldn't be in, which is batting against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, totally. I mean, what's the difference? And I haven't looked it up, so bear with me. Is there that big of a difference between Steer and Espinal versus right-handed pitchers?
So in statistics, like in terms of average and everything, I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I will say from a power standpoint,
certainly power
is the way that I look at it. That's the way that I look at it.
For sure.
Espinal, as good as he is against left-handed pitching, as good as his glove is defensively, he's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
No.
I don't think he's hitting the ball over 100 miles an hour to the gap. We're looking for singles, get on base, work good at bats, which those things are all fine and good. But when you struggle to score runs, as we've seen the Reds do time and time again this year, it's important to have guys like Will Benson, CES, Spencer Steer, that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Hell, you can run into one at that point. Even Matt McClain, who's struggled mightily this year, hit one out yesterday. I think it's so important, not only for the Reds, but for Santiago Espinal to get back into the role that he's supposed to fill on this team, which is your super utility man that hits left-handed pitching. And I think it'll be huge for the Reds if they can get him back into that role. Same thing for Spencer Steer, if they can get him to where he's comfortable with right-handed pitching.
Exactly. And I've said that about Steer. I think he's kind of been put into an unfair spot. Talk about like and I know we're kind of going away from the lineup, but I'll bring it back. Obviously his injury at the beginning of the year or messing with his shoulder, what have you. But I don't think he's supposed to be an everyday first baseman. Everyone say, oh, he can't be an everyday first baseman. Yeah, he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to play left field once a week. He's supposed to play third base, maybe second base, first base, DH, what have you, and just move it around. What's interesting to me about this lineup is if there was one addition, and granted, I think all the additions they added this offseason have worked great. Really have. But I was super excited about Gavin Lux. People forget how big of a pedigree he had coming up the Dodgers, though I'm sure some of that's inflated because it's LA. The Yankees and Dodgers always had the best prospects, if you didn't know.
Every time.
But Gavin Lux, I was super excited about. And I was like, oh man, he's going to hit tons of home runs in coming out of right field. His first home run was Saturday at Great American Ballpark this year. And he was hitting cleanup for the first month plus. Yeah. I really think the 2-hole is perfect for him. Friedel's honestly had an all-star campaign. Vote for Friedel for the all-star game. Gavin Lux has had a really good year. Keep him at the 2-hole. You have CES to protect Ellie. If McClain heats up and starts hitting for power, I think you can move McClain up to the Benson spot or Stevenson, hit McClain 5th. But I really like this lineup. I agree with you. I like to see Steer replace Espinal, probably at first base, of course. Move CES to third. And then, of course, if you could have Austin Hayes back here by the end of the week, it would be, I think we'd be back. The only thing we'd be missing is Noelvi. And, of course, our favorite player, Candelario. But I really like the lineup. And with just CES just lengthens it. He just lengthens it one more spot. And if he and Benson can get hot, or Benson can get hot again to play with CES, we're going to win some ball games.
Definitely going to win some ball games. And it's so huge to get Austin Hayes back. And we don't really know when Marte will be back. But this is close to as healthy as the Reds can be. Once they get Hayes back, and God willing, we can keep everybody able to play baseball games until Noelvi Marte gets back. There's a chance come the trade deadline that the Reds are they're not sellers. There's a chance. That's for sure.
Now, do you think, Hunter, real quick on that? We got a few minutes. Just a little speculation. What if the Reds go into the trade deadline, the last 2 weeks of July, let's say they're 4 or 5 games above 500. They're 2.5, 3 games out of the wild card spot. I think the Cubs have the Central. I think, Nick Krall would probably say the same. So let's just say they're going after the wild card. What do you add, and are you willing to subtract from the major league club to make it happen? What would you look at? No, not names. We don't need to play the name game, but what would you go after?
Honestly, I think I would go after a left-handed bat to replace Jake Fraley in the outfield. And that might be a little bit of a hot take, but Austin Hayes is the bat that you need against left-handed pitching. Spencer Steer is solid against left-handed pitching. CES hits the hell out of the ball no matter where you are. I think if you can get a left-handed bat and you can kind of platoon Austin Hayes and in left field and platoon with Will Benson and maybe Reese Hines if he ever figures it out and can play every day at the major league level. I think if you can add a left-handed bat that replaces Jake Fraley at the trade deadline, if you're in it, that makes a world of difference for this team because Jake Fraley, for as good as he has been in the past, it's just not there anymore. I mean, the average is below the Mendoza line. I think that's an unsung part of what the Reds' offensive struggles have been. Is it feels like besides Ellie and even before Benson came up, for as good as Friedel's been, they have 1 to 2 guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark against right-handed pitching. And they, more often than not, you're going to face a right-handed pitcher. And I think it would help a lot if they added somebody to take that role with Jake Fraley.
I think it wasn't where I was going, but I like that move. I've been out on Fraley for 2 years. The one I think that they need to go for, and it's always the most expensive, is I think 2 bullpen arms. I just don't. I think they need 2. Just add me 2 more Pagans, and I know that's somewhat silly to say, but just 2 solid arms. I don't need them to be Aroldis Chapman from 2020, 2012, but just 2 solid arms that you can rely on game in and game out, and add that to me, Pagan and Santillan. I think Ashcraft is not a long-term solution out there with his lack of striking out. I think, did someone put in the chat here, WTI Trader, if the Reds could bring back Gino, and I know that's a right-handed bat.
It's still helpful.
Well, real quick, and I don't, clip it up, people. Clip it up. I would trade a decent prospect with Candelario for Suarez. I know Suarez is a free agent at the end of the year. Like, I get that. So I don't know who you'd have to give up, but just to get rid of the Candy contract, it may be worth trading a prospect. But we need, like you said, Hunter, we need some pop, preferably some left-handed pop, just to move Fraley out of the lineup.
Gotta have it. Then the Reds tonight, no matter who's in the lineup, the Reds tonight are facing Luis Ortiz, who has been awesome at home on the year, just a 2.2 ERA in 28 1/3, but he walks the world. So approach-wise, what are you looking for from the Reds tonight? Because this guy has walked at least 2 in 5 straight starts, and as many as 5 in a start, and he dominated against the Reds last time. Only two runs he gave up were on the 2-run homer by Will Benson.
Yeah, I would just, we saw it earlier in the year when the Reds were struggling a little bit, and the Reds have been playing some good offensive ball lately for the most part. Just continue to watch those pitch, build up the pitch count. And Friedel's been getting on base. Lux is a patient hitter. Ellie, to me, has his days that he is. CES is going to, swing on everything. But Will Benson has been a steady guy, getting on base, watching for his pitch. That's what the Reds need to do tonight. Get some guys on base, make him pay, and you hope Wade Miley can hold them at bay for at least four innings tonight.
Yeah, I think 4 innings is probably the max that I would let Miley go personally. Obviously, if he's cruising, that's a completely different story, but this is a different Wade Miley than we saw 4 years ago on a similar weather night in Cleveland. The good thing is bullpen usage, it seems like the only person I think you would be down is Taylor Rogers after he provided you 2 innings yesterday. Shout out to Taylor Rogers. He's been very unsung as well. I think he's, ERAs and I believe around 2.3, and I think he's the only guy you're down on the bullpen. Do you see any other situations where they don't use anybody tonight?
Yeah, unless someone's, has a nagging something, I don't think so. Like you said, normally you don't see those Rogers go more than, 1 inning. So 2 is a little surprising. Hand up, I wasn't able to watch the back half of last night's game. But I think we have seen it though in the past. Francona says, I don't care about the next game. I'm here to win tonight. So really, I think they could be, all cards on the table.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. He says that in every single press conference, he says our focus was to win today, which most of the time, I'd say about 90% of the time, I'm like, hell yeah. But there's sometimes, you got a big road trip coming up. We don't have many. It's getting to the point where it's dog days time, and it's not, you don't have as many off days, and you don't have as much time to rest. So
yeah,
always focus on winning today, but sometimes I think it'd be important to kind of shut a guy down for a day or two, and I think it'd be important to do that for Taylor Rogers.
Well, and I think you said it earlier, though, too, with the lineup, and we'll wrap up here in a couple. I think they're able to do that with the lineup to a certain degree. Mix and match the Espinals, the CES Steer, even to a certain degree, the outfield a little bit as well when Hayes comes back. We saw they were really playing a man down because they weren't even using Wins. Now, Wins is off the roster. And hopefully by the end of the week, Garrett Hampson will be off the roster as well.
Please. I'm begging for Garrett Hampson to be off the roster. All respect to him. It's hard enough to make the big leagues, but shouldn't be on the roster. My
number one issue with him is they gave Reds Legends number to him. What is the Stowe family doing there?
Yeah, things used to be special,
Yeah,
it used to be special.
Now, speaking of that, real quick, we're gonna wrap up, but we talked about Chase Burns earlier. If the Stowe family is listening, we cannot allow Chase Burns to have a single-digit number as a starting pitcher. That just cannot happen. So, Rick Stowe, Luke Stowe, if you're listening, please have a double-digit, preferably above 25. And
preferably above 25.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be. I'll make an exception for Hunter Green wearing 15 or not 15, 21. 21. Yeah, I don't know. I had the below 20 number like Tim Hudson in my head, wore 15 for years. But yeah, we're Stowe family, please.
And also while we're at it, he's breaking out of it. I haven't said this on the podcast yet, Hunter, but if McClain keeps it up, if he keeps, kind of having a slump, number 9 has to go next year. For those who are interested,
that's the point.
Number 9 is a cursed number, and since for the Reds, we haven't gotten to the Bengals yet on that. That's a different story for a different day. Look up the Reds number history of number 9 since 1990. It's ugly.
It's very bad. It's very bad. Worst of the bunch is Mike Moustakas, but hopefully the double M wearing number 9, Matt McClain can turn that around. I believe it.
I have faith that he'll turn it around.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Weather in the high 60s. It's rain today. It's a little windy in Cleveland. I'm not too keen on whether the wind's blowing in or out, but I will tell you I don't think the ball's going to fly very much. That's kind of the way that I look at it tonight. National League Central, the Reds are 7.5 back, but reminder, it only takes a good couple weeks. The Reds are right back in it. 4.5 back in the wild card. And the Cubs are in Philadelphia. They're in Philadelphia for 3. Cubs are on a tough road trip at the moment, just coming off a series with Detroit. Marlins and the Pirates open up the Toilet Bowl series at PNC Park tonight. Brewers are hosting the Atlanta Braves, and the Cardinals in a battle of the birds with the Toronto Blue Jays. Any final thoughts before we head out of here today, Alex?
Last I always say is go Phillies, go Braves, go Blue Jays, go Reds.
Well, yeah, big go Reds. While we're at it, go Marlins too. I don't really like the Pirates all that much anyway. So Yeah, big thanks to Alex for filling in today. I believe me and Max will be back on Thursday. Been a pleasure, Alex. Been a pleasure.
Well, nice dealing with you as well, Hunter, anytime. And I'll see everybody back here tomorrow with Sam.
Awesome. All right, reminder about the post-game show. I believe it's Trace and Nick tonight. I always forget to look at the spreadsheet before we hop on this show. But, reminder they'll be live in the 9th, hopefully live for a 4th straight win for the Cincinnati Reds and back above 500. We'll see everybody next time. Thank you.
See y'all.